Hello and welcome to the Avram Davidson Universe podcast. My name is Virgil, and my channel is Literally Books, and I'm joined by Bob from Wheel of Genre.
Yes, Virgil. Virgil, our guiding light. Bob, who can't get anything right. Virgil,
No, I don't know about that. Wait a minute.
Virgil,
I think you get a lot more right than you go to admit.
I'm going to tell you. So, okay, so we're doing Where Did Sinbad Sail from Adventures in Unhistory. But I got to say, when we did El Vilvoy, I talked about, oh yeah, it's from Lime Killer. I talked about that for so long. It has nothing to do with Lime Killer.
Well, listen. Sometimes the best way to find out the truth is to get something wrong.
There you go. Okay, it's a learning experience. So Virgil,
and I've done that before too. When you said it, I thought, well, I guess I just learned something. I was like, oh, really? Didn't even know it was in there. I was like, oh, keep telling me all these tidbits, Bob. These are great.
Oh, God.
Well, what else? And you're like, by the way,
Bob's false tidbits. Okay, Virgil. So, besides my making tons of mistakes, we are reading reading Where Did Sinbad Sail? And so I think this is really interesting. As we said before, the opening is, it may be the reply to many, who cares? And the idea is like, okay, who cares where Sinbad sailed? It's just part of a story. But
what a great way to open an essay.
Yeah, exactly.
Essay?
But I'm going to tell you anyway. So Avram does so much work to find out as far as he can tell with a great deal of evidence, where he thinks Sinbad actually went. Because his claim is that Sinbad, yes, we have a legend from Scheherazade, but it's probably even older than that. And it might actually be like a account that just got lost, or at least a legend that just got lost. So the claim is Sinbad was real, and the places that he went to are actually, while they're all written like fantasy places, they are all 100% real. Did you buy it, Virgil?
I think there's a lot of strength in this essay to sort of say, yes, there's some really fantastic things that happen, but that the core of the core idea of some of these locales has a ring of truth to it. It wasn't just complete fancy, right? You know, that there's a actual geographic location that these ideas came from. And I think the work that he does is so good. I think it is really convincing. I think I am convinced.
There you go. It's true. Take it from us.
Join us next time.
You heard it from Virgil, not me, so you can trust it.
Oh, you can trust me. I see.
Virgil. So there's we're going to look at some of the claims because I think they're really, really interesting. I think some of the most interesting things too are the asides. But just to give some of these claims, so he says, okay, we all know he's a salty sea dog. He's an old sea dog, Sinbad. He was going here, he was going there, and he was using what is called dead reckoning. So this is before a lot of instruments for sailing, and dead reckoning was you had to you had to get somewhere under a certain amount of time, and you had to be pretty sure you were right. Otherwise, you might die because you might not get there. Yeah. And it's all based on landmarks and where you think landmarks might be. But the way that these are written in 1001 Nights, they seem like they could be true. So Avram has tracked down that he might have been in Borneo, that he also might have been in Sumatra. And now some of the evidence is linguistic. He says that someone claimed, Mr. Lane, suggested that the two islands of Kartan and Martan are actually one island. And then he says, I think it is Sumatra. And so Avram agrees too, and he says, okay, so if it's Sumatra, I think that he was in Sumatra, and then he went to the Republic of Indonesia, or just Indonesia today, but he went to Indonesia. So it sounds like he's going through a lot of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, it does. And like you said, there's a lot of evidence because of like linguistic things that he's finding, or it could be that the descriptions of certain things that are on an island or things that Sinbad's interacting with are consistent with a certain area. And he does sort of have to have like this long, like grocery list of like things that are on this island. And he's like, well, this and this and this, but not these. So this island's out. And then this and this and this and this. And I was like, oh, well, this could be it. Like, but it's way over here on the other side. I'm like, okay, so that one's out. And so, and it's great because you're kind of so he goes through and does this and then, like, checks off the little boxes, "Okay, so most likely candidate is this, and that would make sense." So, it's kind of
Pro
great.
It's like Guess Who, you're knocking each one
Yeah,
down one by one.
exactly. We're
Guess
slowly
which?
like, "Nope, it's not Mr. Glasses.
It's not Mr.
We're
Glasses.
it's
It's
not
always
Mr.
Mr.
Glasses this
Glass.
time."
I think my absolute favorite one is because we mentioned it earlier in our introduction to on history, but I think it's the rook or the rook or the rook, if anyone can correct my pronunciation. But this bird, this ancient bird that is referenced in many different texts and is referenced in Sinbad. I mean, at least this story in 1001 Nights, where Sinbad goes up into the nest, finds all of these giant bird eggs, but it's everywhere, this idea. And so Avram tracks down and say, okay, there is no bird. What did you say, Virgil? That no bird that can pick up an elephant, right?
Right, there's no bird yeah, he says no bird can pick up an elephant, like, couldn't I think he says there's not even a bird that could pick up a child.
Yeah,
Like,
right,
it's like
right.
yeah, like a like, even, like, in the American condor or
Mm.
whatever, can't even pick up a human child, so it's like, it's unlikely that there was a bird big enough to pick up an elephant.
Yeah, and the American condor has like this huge, huge wingspan. It's the biggest bird, could pick up lots of things, but it can't even pick up a human child. How can it pick up a baby elephant? But he says, okay, so that is clearly an exaggeration. And as you have mentioned before, Virgil, Herodotus would go and see these things, go travel, talk to different people, maybe misunderstand things, or someone's telling him a tall tale, like a
Mm,
fishing story. Here, it seems like this Sinbad tale of going to see a giant bird somewhere might have been a tall tale, but Avram has tracked it down to it may be happening in Madagascar. And I think this is very
Madagascar.
interesting because he says, okay, the bird is huge. We know its egg is huge. The bird is bigger than people. What birds were possibly bigger than people? Birds that were extinct. And he tracks one down called the ape. Let's try our Latin, Virgil. The
Right.
Aepyornis ingens. Well, maybe a Latinate can help us with that. But it's this giant bird that is in between. It looks like an ostrich or an emu or an
Mm,
auk, but it's even bigger. And when you look at a picture of it compared to a human, it's like the human's head would only come up to the bird's chest. It's
yeah,
huge. And he says so. Some of the claims are that this island didn't have elephants, but it had these giant birds, and they went extinct in Madagascar maybe about 900 or 1,000 years before ago, but they were still around when Sinbad might have been sailing. So if he ran into one of these birds, you go, you find its nest, you find a giant egg, you're then like attacked by this bird. And of course, he might not have seen, if he was a real person, he might not have seen a bird that can't fly. So seeing a bird, he might say, oh, it flew after us, even though it might have just been, oh my God, we
right.
got the hell out of there. And then the bird's far away, but we imagine it's still flying because it's a bird.
Yeah, and there's some great lead up to this too,
Hmm.
where he talks about how, a lot of the largest islands that we have on the planet tend to not have any land predators, and so a lot of times the
Oh.
birds on those islands grow to be flightless, and so this is
Oh.
and they grow very large because they're flightless. So these flightless birds sort of come about, but then as humans start to populate the island, that birds become fewer and fewer
The
because
dodo.
humans are pretty good predators. Um, so there's that, which I think is great. I know he talks about I think there was something he said that the egg of this bird on, Madagascar, which we have, like, archaeological evidence of, like, it's a real thing. It isn't, like, supposed. Its egg was 6 times that of an ostrich egg, which is crazy. Like, an ostrich egg is huge,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's like ostrich eggs are like this, so imagine something that big. I can't remember how much fluid he said was in it, but it was a lot,
2.5. So he gets it from L. Sprague de Camp in his book
which is
called
yeah, it's
Land
so
Beyond.
cool. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's
I
okay.
should let you finish,
No. So I'll say it's 2.5 gallons to answer your question. It's 6 times an ostrich eggs. That's 150 times that of a chicken egg.
which is huge. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's an omelet.
That's an omelet. That's an omelet right
It's
there.
an
Yeah.
omelet, and it's a um, and, The other yeah, and it's also just to mention that he does, a lot of credit to DeCamp and his book Lost Worlds or Lost
Lands Beyond.
Lands Beyond, I'm sorry, Lands Beyond
That's okay.
from the camp put out in the '50s, a lot of use of that, so I know sometimes, people wanna, like, malign DeCamp and I guess his editor I think he edited a lot of Conan stories, and people wanna kinda say,
Oh.
"Oh," but nothing but great praise for his work here in
Mm.
this sort of nonfiction book that he had produced.
Hmm.
Um, so this is great. And then the other thing note too is um, the like the Sinbad that we know, like we get from the Arabian Nights, and we had so that's kind of where that story comes from. But he's also using some of the information from Marco Polo. He mentions Marco Polo had recorded some of these stories, and he's like, well, Marco Polo wasn't generally was pretty okay. Like generally didn't try to make things up, but this is one of those times where he's like, "Well, I don't know." He says about these giant birds, but I think it's a story he was told, not a story he encountered. So,
Mm.
so that was kind of cool, like, um, yeah. And so these giant birds. There was one more thing. Oh, there was a great thing about when these birds went extinct, and they think that it could be that they were on the island much longer
Hmm.
because there was some account of someone visiting Madagascar, and someone said something like, "And the giant birds hide in the woods." And then and then Avram in his great, like, sort of droll humor, and he says, "But hiding just wasn't enough to keep them alive," or something
I
like
think
that, and it's like, yep, the hiding in the woods ended up not being a good enough tactic.
all those birds. Those must have been huge chicken wings that they made of those
That's
birds.
right.
Uh, one thing that I was really excited about too in getting to read this and also listen to it because Seth Davis sent us recordings of Avram actually reading these, and
Yeah.
it was so cool because he at the end the essays went in a few different iterations, so he would do like a couple different editions. So at the end of this audio, he says, and here are some of the updates. So it's different from the published version, but he reads all of those updates at the very end. And I thought it was so cool, one, to hear his voice, and then also to hear his humor come through his voice. But he does it in two recordings. And in the second one, he goes, uh, eeny, miny, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, testing, testing, before he starts finishing.
You know what? I missed that audio. I guess I had the audiobook on my own, so I didn't even
Oh.
listen. So now I have to go back and listen. This sounds awesome. This is like get homework I get to do that I'm excited about.
It's really cool. I think we gotta ask Seth. I think there are a few, at least, recordings because they were essays, and he was I think he might have been teaching these things at one. Well, anyway, he was recording these
Oh,
essays at least for people to listen to, and it was really fun for me to be able to listen to and hear his take through his voice
yeah, his
about these
dictation.
things. Yeah, his
That's awesome.
dictation.
Yeah, it was such a good essay, and
Mm,
I like too. He talks about different other sort of tall tales and stuff like that
mm,
as to sort of a warm up. And one of the details I liked, he talked a bit about just almost it really is a great story too to like to start the collection because he brings up Paul Bunyan and his ox Babe in America and how one of the sort of ludicrous measurements is that it had 40 axe handles between and one plug of tobacco between its horns was how big Babe was supposed to be, which is just a crazy number. And he's like, there's something about that plug of tobacco at the end that kind of makes you think, well, maybe that's true.
yeah, huh? That yeah, I buy it now. 40 axe
It's
handles
like,
by themselves now.
oh, what are the chances that it's exactly that? Be like, oh, and a plug of tobacco? Okay.
It's people who suffer through like IKEA furniture, and it says, it takes these five dowels and never goes together. You have to shim like a piece of paper in there. I believe it at this point.
Right. Just like that. See, IKEA steal from him too.
Yeah, yeah. See, Google, Wikipedia, IKEA, anyone who ever had an idea about a paperclip, maybe paper clips.
That's right.
Could be 3M stole
Yeah.
them off from dudes.
Right. 3M's making bikes now. Who do they have to attribute this success to?
3M's making bikes. That's hilarious. Very
3M bike.
thin bikes. Uh,
It's got to take
Virgil,
the
what do
best from the back.
gotta take? That's right. There's some really interesting asides. You're saying, okay, we get other bits of lore that are dropped in here, for comparisons, talking about Babe the Blue Ox and Paul Bunyan. I think there are some other weird asides that get in here too. Like he just all of a sudden he starts talking about Mars and he says, "Are there really no canals on Mars? Not even one? Only one? Not? Well," and then he moves on from there.
Yeah, right. Right, like this
Mm.
hope that like these like weird things are real, right? And
Yeah.
like, "Just one, please."
Just give me one. Which is cool. So as we continue in the rest of these stories, because I think, let's see, how many do we have? I think there are maybe 15 or 16 of them. As we go through, there is kind of that wonder at these things, like, oh God, I really hope these are real. But then it also is not trying to pull the wool over our eyes. It's
Mm,
trying to figure out the truth of them, but in a way that kind of keeps that wonder. You're still very
mm.
thrilled at it. It's not taking the magic away. It's just adding all of these weird webs of magic into these other stories. Um, where do you think we should go next?
I remember reading the one on the mandrake in this collection, and
Oh.
that being a really interesting one too. The this whole idea of this root that when you remove it from the ground, you can't. Like it's very dangerous. It has great medicinal qualities, but it's a very dangerous plant herb to collect. I don't know. That could be a good one. I don't know. Did you have one that you're interested in most? I mean, I should have asked you this question. You always
I
ask
think
such good questions.
no, and then I give lies as
Well,
answers.
well, that's part of the storyteller's job,
Sorry.
right? You gotta
I'm
kinda you gotta kinda keep them guessing. They gotta do their
gotta
own
keep them
research.
guessing, keep everybody
That's
on
right.
their toes or on the keyboards. You idiots! um,
I don't know.
I'm
No, 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 no.
I'm really excited for it because I really want to read the Rogue Dragon and anything about dragons. So I would like to read an abundance of dragons because
Oh,
I think he goes to dragons and looks at dragons from different, not
yes.
just time periods, but also I think he looks at Chinese dragons in addition to European dragons. So
Mhm.
I think this would be a really really fun one.
I think you're right. Yeah, and really, and it's such an interesting idea too because there's so many different cultures have a concept of a dragon.
Right.
Right? And you think, well, where does this concept come from? It's almost like a Joseph Campbell, like kind of
Mm.
thing, like the myth that keeps repeating in all these different cultures that are seemingly unconnected. It's like this myth of a dragon just keeps repeating in all these different cultures that are seemingly unconnected. It's like, well, this culture didn't just take this idea wholesale and, from this other culture. Seems like they came up with it on their own. So it's a
Or
great
Virgil, dragons are real.
dragons are real this whole time. They're on Madagascar. That's where
They're, they're that's where
that's
the
it.
birds went. It wasn't people, it's dragons eating the birds.
Right. Yeah, yeah, the Sinbad one, and I'm a huge fan of Sinbad.
Mm.
So I don't have you ever seen the old, going back to Sinbad, have you ever seen the old Sinbad, like, movies, live
No,
action?
tell me about the Sinbad movies.
Oh, you've never seen, like,
Mm,
the Ray
mm,
Harryhausen
mm,
stuff? Those are wonderful. If you've never seen it, like, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad by Ray Harryhausen. Oh, or well, he did all the special effects. He's not the
mm,
director. So you've got a giant cyclops in that one, a dragon, a non-winged dragon,
mhm.
probably one of the most epic monster battles, barring perhaps the one with King Kong and the Tyrannosaurus Rex from the old black and white King Kong, which is,
Hmm.
you know, amazing. But it's probably the second only to that. Just this
Wow.
amazing battle with the cyclops and the dragon that happens on the beach. Whew, so good. So good. And also giant rock, two-headed rock, I should point out,
Hmm.
so that's great. And a baby and I think the egg, they try and take the egg and the egg hatches and the baby chick rock comes out, which is like the size of an elephant itself.
Whoa.
So that's great.
2.5 gallons.
Yeah, right. Right. They were swept away. I've seen that first one so many times because when my son was little, I was like, I didn't want to watch Elmo.
See, they
Right? I
must-
didn't wanna watch Elmo. I'm so done with it. So I'm like, well, "Let's see if he likes this," and he loved it. He loved The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, so that became like, "What do you wanna watch?" Sinbad. So I put Sinbad on, so I've seen that movie like 100 times. Right, to the point where you start noticing things like, "Oh, I don't know about that." There's this whole thing in that movie, the princess gets shrunk down to, like, this tall, right, by evil sorcerer, and she's on top of this cage, and at one point, she unlocks the cage, they're like, "Thanks," and they flip the lid open, and I'm like, "Wasn't she just on top of that lid?"
Yeah.
As I always go, "Ah!" And the princess was no more.
Yeah.
But anyway, fantastic movie. You've never seen that Sinbad movie? Oh, it's so good, right? And my son says he still remembers the way the Cyclops like growls and like how it sounds. He's like I can still remember it, Dad. So I love the movie. Great viewing. If you're interested in Sinbad, not exactly historically accurate to the Arabian Nights per se, but wonderful time.
Oh,
Great stop motion. So many good, cool stop motion monsters and adventure. Just a really great movie.
geez, last time you sold me on chicken that's not chicken and not people, but now you sold me on Sinbad. I gotta watch these movies.
Oh,
Virgil, I think we gotta pick one and we gotta come back to these adventures in on history. I want to do some other stories in the meantime, but I think if we can come back to adventures in on history, we gotta do it. What do you think? Mandrake and dragons?
I think dragons sounds good. I think you had a
Okay,
really good suggestion with dragons. Tracking down the dragons sounds fun. I forgot about that one.
let's do
I mean, how could I didn't really forget, but I was just like, oh, that's right. There is some great work there. And I love, like I
some
said,
dragons.
he's like, we all know about dragons. Where did they come from? Is there a real dragon? You know?
There could
Was
be.
there a
We're
real
gonna
dragon?
find
And
out.
I think
Yeah.
he kind of was like, you know what? Look at this. And you're like, oh, that's what you said. That's the exact way that it all plays out in your head when you read this.
I imagine I would say more like ah because it's a
Hoo-ah!
dragon. you know. Oh my god, run! But maybe we'll just we'll be pleasantly
Hopefully not
surprised.
in
I'll
the
tell
middle
you.
of reading. You're like, you're sitting on
Put
the
it
couch. Oh
down.
my God, run. You throw the book down and you run off. We never saw Bob again.
That's
He set sail.
he set sail. That's the power of Avram Davidson. He convinces you
The
dragons are
power.
right behind you around any corner. All right, Virgil. Well, I am excited. We're gonna ride dragons into the sunset.
No other way to go into the sunset but dragons.
That's right. Rar.
Raw indeed, as
All
Opera
right.
would often say.
Rar indeed. All right. See you, Virgil.
See you, Bob.